recording, by the way. Because I'm still thinking of Amelia who wants lessons. We'll keep recording. And since, that side, since can you make it smaller and softer? Now, we have, the sternum has 3 sections. It has the upper part, which is the sternum and the second and the first rib, and then the middle part, the longest part, and then we have the lower part, which is the xiphoid process that's, at the end of the at the end of your sternum. So when you do this turning, and then remember your ribs that are, attaching to the sternum, your ribs, they have also cartilage. So the cartilage, from your sternum, you first have cartilage before you actually have the bone. And bone is a little bit harder than cartilage. And so just get a feel for that ability of your chest to soften in the front because we have cartilage there. Deborah, you have a question?
No, I just got to change the screen so I can see.
Okay. So you're just rolling and just get that sense of, that flexibility. So yeah, we can, first aid when somebody isn't breathing, you can really press on that chest and normally nothing breaks. Unless you're already very brittle and then, you might have a rib broken, but generally there is that flexibility. Okay, rest, bring your arms down and lengthen your legs out. And since now, how are you lying on your back? Now roll to your right side. Or Deborah, you want to rather start on the left? Or can you?
Yeah, I'll do the left.
Okay. Take something under your head if you have. And take your right hand onto your forehead and start rolling your head with the help of the hand.
Right hand or left hand?
And left hand on the left hand on the forehead. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, and it's the rolling. Well, Nancy did, I mean, there's both possibilities. Yes. Nancy was like, yeah, I'd do that. And just sense your rib cage, the way it can turn. Deborah, do you have any pain when you have your hand there, your arm?
No, once it's up, it's good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let your tongue go with your face. So you're just taking your tongue barely out of your mouth between the lips and let the tongue very softly go along to the left and to the right. And really watch that tongue is soft and slow and that it influences your turning that way. Okay, have a little rest. Now, without turning your upper body, just start bringing your tongue again between your lips. Start to softly bring your tongue to the left corner of your mouth and to the right. And sense the movement also in your atlas and in your eyeballs. Again, do it slowly. And it's for some people not easy to do slowly and to have the tongue actually soft. How are you breathing when you do it slowly? Can you keep your breathing going? And then rest. Sense your breathing now. And then again, put your right hand on the forehead.
Are we turning on my left side?
No, same side. Left hand, sorry. I'm confused because Deborah's on the other side. The left hand, yes. And start to do the same thing again, leading the movement with your tongue and your eyes very softly. Your eyeballs very softly going right and left with your head. And imagine or sense those ribs turning softly, and the ribs are attached in the back with little joints to the spine. And then a few times, let the tongue go as softly and without interrupting your breath to the other side. So when you roll your head to the left, your tongue goes to the right. And what are your eyes doing? Are they following your head or are they following your tongue? Then roll onto your back and sense how are you lying now on your back. Sense your breathing. And then roll your head from side to side, and maybe it's easier to one side since we only did one side. Now, bring the head back to center and just think again about your rib basket. I'm gonna say rib basket, so it's going to be at the end of the lesson less of a cage but a basket that is flexible, and just sense that breathing and sense the flexibility that your ribs have with breathing, and that diaphragm that when you are pushing down, the diaphragm that is, when we're breathing, the diaphragm is pushing down and your ribs, they expand. Diaphragm contracts and the ribs expand. The tip of your sternum moves away from your spine. So there's a three-dimensional space. You get wider in your ribs on the side, and you get larger in distance from the xiphoid process. That's the end, that's a little tip of your sternum to your spine. See that place, you can put your hand or two hands on that tip and just sense that three-dimensional space that your diaphragm basically creates. Now, really look for the tip of this, the sternum. The tip of the sternum is xiphoid process. Sternum, and you go all the way down to the tip, and for some people that's where they experience reflux, and so it's tender there. And for some people the xiphoid process goes in or out, and just sense how yours is doing, if it's going in or out, or if it's like, you know, neutral. Now, put your feet standing. And now see if you can find a movement. Actually, put both hands again onto that place at the tip of your sternum, of your breastbone. And, you know, before that parts where you have those two rib arcs going right and left. And sense if you can do a movement in your ribs to move that right and left, to move that tip right and left. How do you have to move your ribs to be able to kind of move that tip right and left? Now, you could move your tailbone right and left easy, right? So just move your tailbone a little bit right and left as if you're wagging your tail. So that's your lower ribs, right? That are moving right. That's what, you know, a movement that we do in hula, in the kaholo a lot. So the tailbone goes right and left. Now, let that rest. Keep your fingers on your that xiphoid process. And now with your tongue, go left and right. And as if you wanted to reach your right ear or your left ear. And sense how your atlas is moving with that. So the atlas, the last vertebrae. Now still, even so I said, reach up to the ear, make it soft enough. Now maybe because your head is doing something, your chin should be going right and left, or your nose. Right? Maybe you feel it in that sternum, in the tip of the sternum a little bit. Maybe the tip of the sternum goes with the tongue a little bit. Rest that. Keep your feet standing. Sense how you're breathing in that area. That's where your diaphragm is. Now roll onto your right side. Sorry, the other side, sorry. No, I'm the other side from before. That was the right side. Right now, roll onto your left side if you have been. Okay, as I said, I'm confused. Roll to your left side, right? That's the other side. Now put your right hand on top of your forehead. Now we're going right here. And start rolling your head and sense how are you rolling, how your ribs moving. And now you just touch that xiphoid process. How's that moving? And then let your tongue and your eyeballs lead the movement. Watch your breathing, that you're not interrupting your breathing, that your tongue can be soft. Maybe you can soften your tongue more. Then rest. Now just move your tongue and your eyeballs to the right and to the left. And sense how softly can you move your tongue, roll your eyes, and watch your breathing with that. You might feel the pull on the neck as if your head wanted to roll. Keep that tongue really soft and that breath even. Then rest. Now take your right hand onto your forehead again. And start rolling your head with the help of your hand, but let your tongue and your eyes go opposite. Keep them soft. Then rest. Sense your breathing and the flexibility of your ribs. Now put your right hand again onto your head, forehead. The hand is sideways on the forehead, and with your hand lead your tongue and your elbow to the right, but have your eyes go to the left. So eyes go opposite your tongue and your elbow. Keep breathing. Now let maybe twice or three times let the tongue go opposite the eyes and the head. Keep the ribs soft. Then slowly roll onto your back and sense how are you resting now on your back. How is your spine, your thoracic spine touching? Now put your feet standing again and bring your fingertips to your sternum. And this time it's the upper part of the sternum between the clavicles. So it's the beginning, you could say the beginning of the sternum. The mandibular is the upper bone of the sternum. And now start to wag your tail again a little bit, meaning you pull your pelvis a little bit up on one side towards the shoulder and up on the other side. And just sense the movement in there. Be gentle, be small. The softness of your ribs bending, contracting on one side, opening on the other side. And your neck having to lengthen or shorten. Do that gently, do that slow. Then let that go. Bring your hands again to the end of the sternum, the xiphoid process. And go a little bit to the right and to the left. So you're wagging your xiphoid process, the lower tip of the sternum, of the breastbone. That's a very small movement. You don't have to do much, just do a small movement. Sense how it influences your neck. And then start to add your tongue again. So when you're wagging to the right with the xiphoid, then let the tongue go left this time. And then when the xiphoid goes to the left, the tongue goes to the right. As if you wanted to reach the ear. That makes your tail wag a little bit too, right? And rest, lengthen your legs down and sense how are you resting. Are you breathing now? You feel your ribs expanding a little bit easier. Now put both feet standing and take your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And go a few times on that midline, up and down. And sense the highest point in that upper palate on that midline. Go very slowly and softly. Now, with your tongue on that highest point, go from there to the right side of your teeth, and then coming back to that highest point, and then to the left, instead of going forwards and backwards. And even you can even go further. You can go over your teeth to the cheek from that place and sense what that movement of your tongue when you're moving, you know, you have to move the root of the tongue a little bit, does in your neck. Keep breathing. Then let that go, rest. Now, roll again onto your left side. Roll again onto your left side. Bring your right hand and your left side onto your hand. Bring your right hand and your left hand onto your forehead. So you have both hands on the forehead, left on top of the right, and start rolling your head to the right and back. And then you sense how softly are your ribs turning? What is your sternum doing? The upper part, the middle part, the lower part, thoracic spine. Now, stretch out both legs. So you are actually in one line. You want to be like a stick. Stretch out both legs. And now roll your head again and sense, oh, this is like, you can't roll that with you roll over, right? It's very hard in this position when you have your legs totally straight to roll. So just do a tiny bit and sense how do you have to balance yourself. Where do you balance yourself? Just a tiny bit. You can't do much. So now just take your tongue to the right and your eyes. And sense that is okay. And so just feel the beginning of that rolling. Then bend your knees again. And now roll again to the right with both hands and let the tongue go actually from the highest point in your palate to the right cheek. And sense how well your rib basket can turn. Okay, and rest. Sense your breathing. Now take your right hand behind you. So you're putting the right hand behind you. Deborah, I don't know if you can do that already. And the left hand on the forehead and start turning your head a little bit more to the right and left, leading with your eyes and your tongue. So left hand is on the forehead. Right hand slips behind your back if you can on the floor. And then you start turning your head with the tongue and the eyes to right and left. Soft tongue again. Or what is your sternum, your breastbone doing?
Put my right hand on my forehead. I just do it without.
Deborah, what, say it again?
Oh, because I'm doing the opposite, but if my right hand, it just hurts too much to put it on my forehead. I just do it without it.
Yeah, or put it on your chin, you know.
Oh,
You could also do that. Yeah. Is that okay?
it's better than the.
Better. Yeah, just leave it. Yeah. And then rest, roll onto your back and sense how you're lying on your back. That's the length of your right side. Now roll onto your right side. For a moment, sense your breathing here and how the chest, the ribs are pushing against the floor when you breathe in. And feel the xiphoid moving forwards and the spine backwards when you breathe in. Now take your tongue again to that highest point in your palate and begin moving the tongue to the left cheek slowly on that palate and to the right. And sense if your neck moves with that. So the tongue is on the highest point in the palate and moves on that upper palate to the left cheek and back and then to the right cheek. Since you're breathing, make it soft. And let that go. And take your left hand onto the forehead and the right hand and start with both hands rolling to the left and sense how far. And lead with your eyes, but let your tongue go opposite. Now go very slowly that way to, turn to the left. And when you come back, go very quickly back. Very slowly out to the left and then very quickly back. Everything gathers quickly again, lying on your right side. And then rest. Ease your breathing. How your ribs, how soft your ribs can expand with your breath in. And then lengthen your legs out so you're lying like a stick on your right side. Take the left hand on the forehead and well, maybe just for a moment, leave the right hand on the ground. That's at least one thing more on the ground, giving you counterweight. And then rolling your head a tiny bit to the left and sense how difficult it is not to fall. If you go too far, you're definitely going to roll towards the back. And now take your right hand also onto the forehead and let the whole body roll as a stick a little bit to just a tiny bit before you fall you come back. Since you're breathing. Now take your tongue to the highest point on the palate to come back. And you can also pull your perineum up to that highest point. To come back. And you stay like a stick. Good. Rest. Bend your knees again. And now, with the knees bent, put your left hand behind you on the floor. You're lying on the right side. Left hand is behind you on the floor. Right hand is on your forehead. You start rolling your head to the left and to the right. Now let your tongue go with your head. And let your eyes go opposite. And then slowly come back and actually just for testing, take your left hand on the forehead and roll your head to the left and sense maybe it is a little bit easier, softer to roll on your ribs, right and left. Sense the, whole sternum, breastplate moving. Okay, and then roll onto your back and sense the way you're lying on your back now. And the way you can breathe. And fill your lungs. Maybe now the xiphoid process and the spine can, move further apart. Now put your feet standing again. And think of wagging your tail again. So you wag your tail to the right and you wag your tail to the left. And now let the tongue come out of your mouth and you're going with the tongue in the same direction. Go soft with your tongue, go soft with your tail. Rest your tongue, rest your tail. Now think of wagging again your xiphoid process, the lowest part of your sternum. And actually bring your fingers there and just witness with your fingers that little movement to the right and to the left. Sense what your ribs have to do. Maybe one side is way easier, softer than the other. Now let your tongue go opposite again. What does that to your neck? Then rest. Sense how you're breathing. Now roll to sitting. And if you can, come onto your knees and hands. Actually, yeah, come onto your knees and hands. If not, just come onto your knees. And Deborah, you can just stand and put your hands on the, the couch. So come onto your knees and hands. And now in this position, just move your tongue to the right and to the left, coming out of your mouth. And sense your head wanting to go with it. So a little turning of your nose. Your eyes probably as well. And sense when your head is in the middle, right? In that midline. Now, rest for a moment. Now, bring your hands down again. Now, wag your tail again and let your tongue come towards the tail and sense what your sternum has to do. So now if your tailbone is wagging to the left, your left ear moves to the left shoulder because your tongue would like to reach that tailbone. But you don't have to turn the head. We're just side bending. And your sternum is doing what? You don't have to turn the head right and left. You just have the head go side bending. As if you wanted to bring the ear to the shoulder in the direction where you're wagging your tail to. Yeah. So, right, Susan, let your ear come a little bit closer to that shoulder. So if you wag your tail to the left, your left ear is coming to the left shoulder. Yeah. Kathy, you're a little bit too close with your hands to your knees. Yeah, if you come a little, yes, okay. Yeah. Okay, rest. Now come onto your hands again and put your head with the top of the head onto the ground. And roll on the midline a little bit forwards and backwards between the hands. We have done that. Now stay, we're just doing this for a small moment. Stay on the highest point of your head and have the tongue on the highest point of your palate. And move your tongue right and left and let your head go with that. So your tongue goes to the right cheek and to the left cheek. So your head is pivoting a little bit right and left. Yes. Okay, rest. Yeah, so there is that movement, going on, but with the connection of the top of the head on the floor. Now come onto your knees, and just on the knees, with the exception of Deborah, you just do it standing. And take your hands again to your xiphoid and move a little bit right and left. Right and left. Now, yeah. Now let your tongue go right and left with the xiphoid process. So see if you can actually, Kathy, if you can come with your pelvis a little bit more forward. Yes, so you're more You're more long in your thighs. Yeah, you're longer in your thighs. Now take the tongue in the opposite direction. Okay, rest. Good. And just sense how you're breathing. Now, do whatever you need to do. You can just bring, 1 foot standing. You can put your hands on the ground, however you want to get up. Remember that thing about, and I still want to do that a little bit more, but, putting 1 foot closer to the other one so you can easier lift that tailbone up. Then sense how you're standing now. What are you feeling? Yeah. Yeah, you're too far, Sue. Take your right foot closer to your left. Turn your pelvis a little bit towards the camera. Yes, there. And when you're closer, that's easier than to come up. And now just think of your pelvic floor. Push from your pelvic floor. Give that a little push when you lift. Yes, there you go. Nice, beautiful. And now, good. And now sense how you're centered, how centered you're standing, and sense that tailbone, how it drops, and the xiphoid and the sternum, the whole sternum. And then in standing, if you can breathe in and separate the sternum and the spine a little bit. So you have a more three-dimensional space here. Or your arms hanging, and slowly turn with your shoulders and your head to the left, and sense how easily can you turn around and to the right. So the side bending today and turning, which is always important, both this combination of side bending and turning to counteract scoliosis. And then walk a little bit and sense what's easier, what feels light. How's your face feeling? Your jaw, your neck. All right.